Our next speaker is Miss Courtney Pappas.
The sunshine peeks through the tall trees in Wayland just enough to shine through my window and wake me. My eyes open as I remember what today is, my 8th grade graduation. My sluggish feet trudge down the beige green carpeted stairs, and I turn into the kitchen to see a breakfast consisting of cinnamon buns, berries, and a cup of English breakfast tea waiting for me. Sitting directly next to my soon-to-be devoured plate of food is a small turquoise bag reading Tiffany & Co. Excitement surges through my body like a bolt of lightning. I look up and smile at my mom as I pull out the Tiffany blue tissue paper to reveal a small velvet bag. Flashback 15 years. It was a sunny day on our trip to Chicago. We had spent the trip visiting my dad's best friend from high school and watching a Red Sox vs. Cubs game at Wrigley Field. My sisters and I sat in the back of our rented car screaming sweet or sour in between giggles as we waved out the window to the people of Chicago. Girls, can you listen carefully for a second? My mom stated sharply to pull us out of our sweet and sour trance. I have to tell you something important. We turned our heads and focused our eyes on her, but silently counted down the seconds until we could resume our game. She says gingerly, Mommy doesn't want you to be scared, but I have to make sure you know what is about to happen. The doctors found something called an aneurysm in my brain, and I have to have surgery on Wednesday. Everything is going to be okay, but just know that Mommy loves you very much. She says this simply enough as to not perplex our young minds. My sisters and I, at the ages of 2, 4, and 6, were unmoved by this. Caroline answers for all of us, okay, and the three of us quickly snap our heads back to the window. On November 15, 2003, my grandfather took his last breath when the aneurysm he did not know he had ruptured. My mom and her middle sister sat by his unconscious side for 14 hours, praying he would hold on long enough for their youngest sister to say her goodbyes. My Aunt Jenny jumped on a plane home from her study abroad in Australia when she heard what happened. She waited on that flight for 20 hours with no idea if she would be able to tell him she loved him one last time, even if he couldn't hear it. She didn't. The whole family greeted her at the airport, and she automatically knew she was too late. In that moment, his wonderful life full of punctuality came to a close without the chance to say goodbye to his 3 daughters whom he loved more than anything. The week before his death, my grandpop and his wife, Kathy, went Christmas shopping. My grandpop, fond of practicality, was known for only ever buying you exactly what you needed. However, on that early November shopping trip, Kathy somehow convinced him to splurge on something thoughtful and worthwhile for his daughters. So, they entered the Tiffany & Co. store with the blue awning and purchased 3 open heart pendants on silver chains. By the end of the next week, he was gone. Kathy made sure that his daughters received these necklaces for Christmas that year. My grandpop never could have known that November weekend just how much his gift would mean to them come Christmas time. My mom's side of the family gathered for an early Christmas celebration, but they have a heavy heart as they recognize my grandpop's absence. My sisters and I were too excited to open presents to question why the room felt less cheery than normal, and quite frankly, too young to wonder for more than a second. The scent of Yankee Candle's Harvest Scent, my grandpop's favorite, filled the room. His presence feels less far gone as the home smells like it always did when he was there. Caroline, my oldest sister, redirects her curiosity into digging her petite fingers through the wrapping paper. She tears off the wrapping paper in one fell swoop, and her face lights up as she reveals a new doll just for her. She snaps her head up to show my mom her new awesome doll and expects my mom to be staring right back at her equally in awe at this new present. Instead, Caroline sees my mom and her sisters all with tear-filled eyes as they each stare at a shiny silver heart-shaped necklace. Before Caroline could ask, my dad places another present in her lap to distract her. With a few more years under our belt, I do believe we would have been more upset by what my mom told us on that warm June day in Chicago. Earlier that year, when my mom mentioned the death of her father to her physician, the doctor recommended that she see a neurology specialist to have an MRI because, after all, aneurysms can be genetic. She had the MRI in January. Within the week, they called her in and sat her down with the news that they detected an aneurysm and surgery would eventually be necessary. There was no real rush on the surgery, as it was unlikely the aneurysm would rupture anytime soon. Aneurysms can sit inside your brain undetected for years until one day they simply burst with no further warning. My mom knew she wanted to have the surgery by the end of the year. She didn't like the idea of an aneurysm sitting in her brain like unexploded ammunition. There were two surgical methods for her to consider: the more invasive but effective aneurysm clipping, or the less invasive and less effective coiling. My mother, healthy and young, chose to undergo the more invasive but effective surgery. She scheduled her surgery for October with hopes to travel to Hawaii that August with our family for her anniversary. But by the end of the week, she had called the neurosurgeon to ask to move her surgery up to the next possible opening. She couldn't stop imagining her aneurysm rupturing and one of us girls finding her dead. They moved the surgery to June. She could only hope that she would be healed by August for our trip to Hawaii. That is, of course, contingent on nothing going wrong during her brain operation. On a Wednesday in the middle of June, my mom had her operation. 6 hours after she went in, my dad got a call saying the surgery went smoothly and he could come in and see her. The aneurysm was gone, along with the worries and uncertainties of my mother's future. They shaved one side of her head, and she had a 6-inch incision sutured shut from the front of her hairline to the top of her ear, and she stayed in the ICU for 4 days where she could not see her children. None of that mattered because she was relieved that she was okay and would be forever. I later learned that her nerves, in their effort to fix the pathways after surgery, rerouted around her head. This means when you touch the screws in the front of her head, she feels the sensation in the back of her skull. I can't help but believe that every time my mom feels pins and needles in her head, her mind is flooded with thoughts of her dad. Nonetheless tragic, my grandfather's death saved my mom's life. If he didn't pass away abruptly that November morning, my mom never would have seen a neurologist, and maybe I wouldn't have my mom here today. Because of him, when I turn 18 and every 10 years from then on out, I will have an MRI looking for the seedlings of an aneurysm. When I think of my grandfather, I think of sacrifice. Although my grandpa didn't make the conscious decision to pass away from a brain aneurysm, I know if he was given the choice, he would have in a heartbeat to save his daughter's life. I'm confident that my mom would do the same for me. The sunshine peeks through the tall trees in Wayland just enough to shine through the window and wake me. My eyes open as I remember what today is: my 8th grade graduation. My sluggish feet trudge down the beige-green carpeted stairs, and I turn into a kitchen to see the breakfast consisting of cinnamon buns, berries, and a cup of English breakfast tea waiting for me. Sitting directly next to my soon-to-be-devoured plate of food is a small turquoise bag reading Tiffany & Co. Excitement surges through my body like a bolt of lightning. I look up and smile at my mom as I pull out the Tiffany blue tissue paper to reveal a small velvet bag. Out comes a silver open heart pendant, the same kind that my grandfather gave to my mom and her sisters. Tears of nostalgia paint my face as my mind is flooded with thoughts of my grandfather and the weight this necklace carries in meaning. I climb back up the same beige-green carpeted stairs, and I slip on my white lace dress that had been hanging in my closet for months. I step into my heels and proceed into the bathroom where the hot wand wraps around my hair and drops them into perfectly curled strands. I look up to see my reflection staring back at me. A 14-year-old girl with braces, tall espadrille heels, dangly white earrings, and a white lace dress, topped off perfectly with my new silver necklace. Today, I feel a new sense of confidence knowing my grandfather is with me. I walk down the stairs and see the face a mom would give their daughter on her wedding day, only this was my 8th grade graduation. Every time I catch a glimpse of my reflection in the doors of a freshly washed car or a still puddle, I'm reminded of how fragile yet unique and complicated life is. The gift my grandfather bought for his 3 daughters before his life was abruptly brought to an end now hangs perfectly shiny and fresh around my neck, as well as my sisters, mothers, and aunts. When my sisters and I have children of our own, we will gift our daughters a silver open heart pendant. We owe it to him. Thank you.